Picture this: a glamorous 2026 charity gala. Red carpets, luxury cars, the richest and most famous guests. Then a man in simple jeans and worn-out boots walks up quietly. Security blocks him instantly. No entry, they say. He doesn't belong. That man? Keanu Reeves. What he did next, in complete silence, left the entire room stunned and changed everything. It was one of the most exclusive charity galas of 2026. The kind of night where billionaires, A-list stars, and powerful CEOs gather under crystal chandeliers. Red carpets stretched for blocks. Luxury cars worth more than most houses lined the driveway. Paparazzi flashed like lightning. Inside, the air smelled of expensive perfume and quiet money. Everyone was dressed to impress: designer gowns, custom tuxedos, sparkling diamonds that could buy small countries. The dress code was strict. Security checked every guest like their lives depended on it. One wrong look, one missing detail, and you were out. The staff had sharp eyes. They judged instantly. If you didn't look the part, you didn't belong. But this night wasn't just about glamour. It was a high-profile fundraiser for children's cancer research. Millions were expected to be raised. The guest list was secret. Only the chosen few received golden invitations. Now imagine this. A single man walks toward the entrance. No limo, no red carpet walk, no flashing cameras following him. He moves quietly, almost invisible in the chaos. He's wearing simple dark jeans, a plain black jacket, and those same worn brown boots he's had for years. No flashy watch, no designer bag, no entourage, just him. He holds a small invitation in his hand. Why was Keanu Reeves there that night? Because behind the Hollywood fame, Keanu has quietly supported cancer charities for decades. His sister Kim fought leukemia. That pain never left him. He gives millions in silence. No press releases, no photo ops. He simply shows up. He cares. But as he stepped closer to the velvet rope, something felt off. The security guard looked him up and down. Once, twice. His eyes narrowed. The elegant hostess at the door froze. Whispers started among the perfectly dressed guests waiting behind him. Who is this guy? Does he even belong here? The tension grew thick in the cool night air. Everyone could feel it. One wrong word and the entire evening could explode. Little did they know. The man they were about to turn away was Keanu Reeves. And what would happen in the next few minutes would leave the whole room in total shock. The moment arrived. Keanu Reeves stood right at the velvet rope. His invitation was in his hand. But the security guard raised one arm like a wall. Sorry, sir. You can't come in. The words hit like ice. The hostess next to him looked Keanu up and down. Simple jeans. Plain jacket. Those old boots. No designer labels. No sparkling watch. No team of assistants. She shook her head slowly. We have a strict dress code tonight. This event is for our VIP guests only. Keanu didn't move. He didn't argue. He just looked at her calmly. A line of glamorous guests formed behind him. Diamonds flashed under the lights. Expensive dresses rustled. Everyone stared. Who is this guy? One woman whispered loudly. Another guest smirked and let out a small laugh. Phones started coming out. Someone filmed quietly from the side. The security guard stepped closer, his voice firmer now. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. You're holding up the line. The air grew thick with tension. The entire red carpet seemed to freeze. Paparazzi lights kept flashing, but now they pointed toward this awkward scene. Whispers spread like wildfire. Is he a fan trying to sneak in? Look at his clothes. He clearly doesn't belong. Some guests chuckled. Others shook their heads in disbelief. The judgment was heavy. You could feel it in the cool night air. Yet Keanu stayed completely still. No raised voice. No, do you know who I am? No anger in his eyes. He simply nodded once, took one quiet step back, and waited. The hostess turned away, already focusing on the next perfectly dressed celebrity. Security kept their arms crossed, confident they had done their job. But inside the grand hall, the real guests were starting to notice the commotion outside. A strange silence fell over the entrance. No one knew it yet, but they had just turned away one of the kindest men in Hollywood. And the clock was ticking. In just a few short minutes, everything was about to explode. Keanu didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't pull the "don't you know who I am" card. Instead, he simply stepped back. Calm, quiet, patient. The cool night air felt heavier now. Guests kept staring. Some whispered. Others smirked, still judging the man in old boots. Phones stayed out. The awkward silence stretched on. But something was already shifting. Inside the grand hall, a young waiter who had just stepped out for fresh air froze in place. His eyes widened. "Wait! That's Keanu Reeves." He rushed back in. The words spread like a secret fire. First to one server, then to another, then to the hostess who had turned him away moments earlier. Her face went pale. She grabbed her clipboard, scanned the guest list again. There it was, Keanu Reeves. Confirmed donor. Major supporter. The name she had completely missed because of a pair of worn boots. Panic started to ripple through the staff. The security guard who had blocked him swallowed hard. His arms dropped to his sides. Whispers turned into urgent murmurs. Someone ran to find the event organizer. Meanwhile, Keanu stood just a few feet away. Still, peaceful, watching the chaos he never created. No anger on his face. Only that same gentle look he's known for. The line of glamorous guests grew restless. But now the energy had changed. People inside the hall began turning their heads toward the entrance. The music seemed quieter. The entire room felt different. What was going to happen next? Would he walk away? Would he finally speak up? Or was something even bigger about to unfold? The hostess stepped outside again. Her hands were shaking slightly. She approached Keanu slowly, like someone facing a storm they had created themselves. "Mr. Reeves, we didn't realize." Her voice cracked. The judgment from minutes ago had completely vanished, replaced by pure dread. What if he left? What if the press found out? What if this quiet man in simple clothes decided this wasn't worth his time? Keanu looked at her. No smirk, no cold stare, just calm kindness. And in that single moment, everyone watching realized something powerful. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about ego. This was about who Keanu Reeves truly is. But the real shock, it was still coming. The entire entrance was holding its breath. Keanu Reeves stood there in silence. No demands, no angry words, just that calm, steady presence. The hostess trembled as she approached him again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mr. Reeves, please. We made a terrible mistake." The security guard who had blocked him looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Guests on the red carpet stopped pretending not to stare. Phones hovered in the air. The whispers had turned into shocked gasps. Everyone waited for the explosion. Would he call out the staff? Demand an apology on camera? Walk away and let the scandal explode across the internet? But Keanu did none of that. Instead, he gave the hostess a small, gentle nod. His eyes carried no anger, only quiet understanding. He stepped forward slowly, as if the painful moment had never happened. The velvet rope was lifted instantly. Doors opened wide. But what he did next, that's what no one saw coming. Inside the glittering hall, the event had already started. The organizer rushed over, sweating under the lights. Billionaires and celebrities turned their heads. The room buzzed with the news. It was really him. Keanu walked in without a word about the humiliation outside. No speech, no complaints. He simply found his seat near the back. Quiet, unassuming. Then came the real shock. When the auction began for children's cancer research, the bids climbed higher and higher. 1 million, 2 million. The room cheered with every raise. Keanu sat still, watching. Finally, the host called for the final big donation of the night. The goal was $10 million to build a new treatment center. The silence in the room was deafening. Keanu raised his hand. Not for a small bid. Not for show. He quietly pledged the entire $10 million. In one single, calm gesture, gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. The organizer froze on stage. But Keanu wasn't finished. He stood up slowly. Every eye in the room locked on him. The man they had judged minutes earlier at the door. The man in simple jeans and old boots. He spoke softly, yet his words carried through the entire hall. I came here tonight for the children. Not for the lights. Not for the cameras. Just for them. If my presence caused any discomfort, I apologize. Let's focus on what really matters. Dead silence. Then, something powerful happened. One by one, other guests started raising their hands. Donations poured in faster than anyone expected. Another 2 million. Then 3. Within minutes, the total nearly doubled. The hostess who had turned him away stood at the side of the room, tears in her eyes. The security guard looked broken. Even the wealthiest guests, the ones who had smirked outside, now sat in humbled silence. Keanu didn't stay for the applause. He didn't pose for photos. He simply shook a few hands, thanked the organizer, and slipped out the same way he came in, quietly. But the real drama was still unfolding. Word of what happened spread like wildfire outside. Paparazzi who had filmed the denial earlier now rushed to capture a different story. Social media lit up within the hour. Clips of the humble entrance mixed with the massive donation. People couldn't stop talking. How does a man who was publicly rejected respond with millions given in silence? How does someone stay that kind when the world just judged him so harshly? Keanu didn't cancel anything. He didn't punish the staff. He didn't seek revenge. He simply turned pain into purpose. And in doing so, he reminded every single person in that room, and millions watching later, what true class really looks like. No ego. No drama. Just pure, quiet grace. But the biggest question still hung in the air. In a world obsessed with image and status, how many of us could have done the same? The room was still buzzing. But the real story wasn't just about that one night in 2026. It was about the man behind the simple jeans and old boots. The man the world has watched for decades, and still can't fully understand. Why does Keanu Reeves live like this? He's earned hundreds of millions of dollars. He could own private jets, mansions, and fleets of supercars. Yet he rides the subway. He walks the streets like any ordinary person. He wears the same faded jacket and comfortable boots year after year. No bodyguards. No flashy lifestyle. Just Keanu. And that night at the gala wasn't a one-time act. It was who he has always been. Think about this. He once waited patiently in the pouring rain outside his own movie wrap party. Because security didn't recognize him. He didn't complain. He just stood there, getting soaked, until someone finally let him in. He gives up his seat on the subway without a word. To strangers, to tired mothers, to anyone who needs it more. He's been spotted sitting on the sidewalk with a homeless man, sharing food, listening to his stories for hours. No cameras, no publicity, just two humans talking. When a friend's child needed expensive medical care, Keanu quietly paid the bills. No press release, no thank you speech. He even gave up huge portions of his own salary on films like The Matrix so the studio could hire better actors and crew. While other celebrities chase headlines with their donations and red carpet moments, Keanu does everything in silence. He has quietly given millions to children's hospitals and cancer research, especially after watching his sister Kim battle leukemia for years. In a Hollywood full of egos, private jets, and public feuds, Keanu stands completely alone. He chooses kindness over fame, humility over attention, real connection over status. That's why the story of that gala hit so hard. People couldn't stop talking about it. Because deep down, everyone knows the truth. Most of us would have reacted differently. We would have gotten angry. We would have made a scene. We would have let our ego take over. But not Keanu. He turned rejection into generosity, judgment into grace, pain into purpose. And in that single quiet night, he reminded the entire room, and millions watching later, what real strength actually looks like. Not loud, not flashy, not arrogant, but calm, patient, and deeply kind. In a world obsessed with image, followers, and looking important, Keanu Reeves shows us something rare. True power doesn't need to prove itself. It simply shows up as itself. So the big question remains, what would you have done if you were turned away that night? Would you have stayed kind? Or would anger have taken over? Drop your honest answer in the comments below. If the story moved you, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these quiet lessons. And if you want more real stories about people who choose kindness in a noisy world, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because in the end, it's not about the money, the fame, or the clothes you wear. It's about who you are when no one is watching. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.